Marvel's Avengers is an amazing game with a fantastic story and multiplayer experience unlike no other.
Shit.
Is what I wanted to be saying after the 30 plus hours I spent with the game. Instead, what we have here is a game that delivers a good single player campaign, but is let down by its repetitive and tedious endgame.
Come on, Kamala. Let AIM help you.
I'll take my chances.
Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, is at the heart of the 10-hour campaign, and immediately when starting, the game lets you know that this is her story. Her chemistry with Bruce Banner, voiced by the great Troy Baker, is one of the best aspects of the campaign, as well as Nolan North, who kills it as Tony Stark. His interactions with Bruce also lead to some great moments in the game. It's these three characters that take up most of the screen time, which means we don't get to see much from Captain America, Thor, or Black Widow, but I didn't really mind that. Captain America and Black Widow felt very bland whenever they were on screen, and as much as I tried to like Captain America, it just didn't feel like Captain America. He lacked that heart and charisma that, you expect from him, and although it would be easy to blame that on the voice acting, I felt like his dialogue was just as bland.
Thor, Tony, check it out.
I did really like the inclusion of MODOK and AIM, and the whole direction of the narrative was pretty interesting, to be honest. I will say that the pacing did feel a bit off towards the end of the campaign, but I was enjoying it enough to ignore it. Most of the missions in the campaign are unique and tailored to the specific hero you're playing as, and it's those ones that feel the most cinematic and enjoyable. On the other hand, there are some missions that have you roaming around dull open areas and AIM facilities which get quite repetitive, and unfortunately that's what the endgame is made up of. As for the combat, I did really like it, but only for so long. It isn't really enough to get you through the extremely monotonous drop zone and war zone missions. It is seriously impressive how different each character feels. Each Avenger has 3 separate skill trees where you can put skill points into extending combos or unlocking new abilities. It is really cool stuff, but in the end, despite Square wanting to avoid button bashing comparisons, it tends to feel like that most of the time, repeating the same combos over and over again. There are some areas where you can start to make your hero a bit more specific to your playstyle. For example, you might want to invest in skills that make Captain America stronger when it comes to ranged attacks, or perhaps you'll want to focus on his defensive capabilities. It's nice that it's in there, and it does add a bit of depth to the combat. It's just, I didn't really find it making a difference in how I played. There are a few different enemy types, but I didn't find myself having to attack differently or, implement a different kind of strategy. It was literally just, oh, this one's a bit more aggressive, or this one has a bit more health. It does feel like a beat 'em up button masher, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I found myself having quite a bit of fun with it. The characters all feel very distinct, and they all do play differently. See, I think the problem here is not with the combat, but with the design of the missions. I'm not exaggerating when I say that every mission felt nearly identical, so much so that you'll notice some of the same layouts and building designs copied and pasted throughout. You're either attacking an objective or defending an objective or just taking out waves of enemies. There are some special missions or villain sectors, but they are the exact same thing with just a boss at the end. There are these iconic missions which are unique missions exclusive to each hero, and I thought they would have some diversity, but no, they are the exact same thing with just a bit of story chucked in. And you see, that's the major problem with the endgame. There's nothing unique here. I kept playing in the hopes that I'd see something new, but no, it was the same thing every time with slight differences here and there. As for the loot system, yeah, this game did not need to be a loot orientated game. It really didn't. Since gear does not change how you look or how you play, it doesn't really feel rewarding whatsoever. I would always just equip the best gear I had regardless of the stats and whatnot, because I didn't feel like they really had an impact on how I was playing. For me, I just saw gear as a thing I needed to access the higher level missions. I was hoping that the higher level missions would be different to the ones I was already doing, but they weren't. And you see, that's the major problem. If I'm doing these missions that I don't enjoy in an effort to get loot that I don't care about, kind of progression that's worth my time, it's just a major grind and it doesn't really feel worth it in the end.
Do the Avengers pose a danger to society? That was the question, Bruce. That was the question.
Also, there is a challenge card for each character, which is basically just a battle pass, and this earns you some in-game currencies and cosmetics, but progress is stalled by daily and weekly challenges. Now, there isn't an expiry date for these battle passes, so you can just take however long you want and you won't really miss out on anything. You see, these daily and weekly challenges provide you with challenge points, which are how you progress the challenge card. It's not a major issue, and it's not that big a deal to me because I'm not really going to be sitting there putting hours upon hours into the game, but I do feel it's worth pointing out. Of course, if you do want to skip tiers, then you can do that. You just have to buy credits with real money. Actually, that's my bad. There is another way to earn credits. You can earn credits through the challenge cards. Yeah, no, see, that's doesn't work. And if you're wondering what else you can spend credits on, there is a marketplace, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it is extortionate. Over here in the UK, it's nearly £15 for a skin. That's nearly $20, and it's just ridiculous, there's no defending it. Like I said, you can get those credits through the challenge cards, but it feels like such a massive grind, and I don't really want to put myself through that. It's a shame because I've had some great moments where I'm looking at the screen like I'm a kid again. It can genuinely be a spectacle at times. Throwing your shield at an enemy and it comes back and you kick it into another one, or throwing your hammer into an enemy leaving them pinned up against the wall whilst you punch another with your bare fists. Watching Iron Man zoom around blasting rockets around you as you thunderclap a group of enemies as the Hulk. I genuinely enjoy that stuff, and being able to do that with friends makes it even better. In the end, I do feel like this game could be solid in about a year's time. The fundamentals are there, each character feels so distinct, and I have no doubt that future characters will also feel like their own, but mission and level design needs serious work, as well as the loot system, which, to be honest, needs a total overhaul. I need to be able to feel like the loot I earned was worth the time I spent playing, and that has an impact on how I play, or at the very least at what I look like. If this game receives the support it needs and the future updates add unique and fun content, then there's no reason that it won't be better than it is right now. I hope that the new story expansions that are released feel different enough and more like what's in the single player. I remember playing Destiny when it first released and I found it so boring. But then I came back to it once all the content had come out and I had a blast with it. I think Avengers can hit that same stride, and everything I criticise right now will no longer be as big a problem. In regards to the technical side of things, I did have one glitch where the costumes that should have been on screen hadn't loaded in. That wasn't really a big deal, but the major thing here was the frame rate drops. It did happen a couple of times, nowhere near as bad as it was in the beta, but it still happened, and Square definitely needs to get on top of this, because with a game like this where there's always a lot happening on the screen, even the smallest frame rate drop can ruin the whole experience. There is definitely some fun to be had here, but right now I couldn't really recommend picking this up at full price. Although it does have a good campaign, the main attraction, being the multiplayer endgame, needs major work. And with that being said, this is all my opinion, and if you still think you'll enjoy this, then by all means pick it up and enjoy it. I just think that this is something that will be much better in time.